big thing is here, ease into the doses and don't dose higher than you need. If you're like at 1 milligram and you're just coasting, you're like, oh my God, I don't feel hungry, I'm rocking my diet, I'm losing 2 pounds a week, and anyone, and I'm gonna say something controversial here, including your doctor, says you need to go up to 1.5, don't. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. Today, we are gonna talk about the best supplements and drugs, to get you shredded. Otherwise known as Shreddy Krueger or Shredder, the gentleman that taught the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles how to fight crime. And he was a rat, an anthropomorphic, gigantic rat from Japan. Folks, keep up. 6 supplements plus drugs total made the list today for things you should consider in your fat-burning stack. No, I said that wrong. You can mix and match these. Some of them you don't take together. I'll get into that in a little bit. But one of them is a substance that people take a lot, often. So I felt like I should include it, but I'll have some caveats about it because I don't super recommend it. And some substances are missing because they're like a little bit too hardcore, or they do some stuff that is so much more than fat burning. So for example, growth hormone's not on this list, even though it's a potent fat burner. It does all kinds of other stuff. It costs $1 gazillion. It's not very easy to get. It's often not legal to acquire, so it didn't make the list. The other one is DNP. It is technically sort of an explosive, but what it does is it gets into your mitochondria, and there's a process by which when you burn food for energy, you get ATP out of it, which is the usable storage form of energy in the body, and you get some body heat. What DNP does is it makes you create less ATP for every amount of energy that you burn, and more of it is siphoned off as heat, which means you burn a crap load of calories doing nothing at all, but you're very hot. DNP is, if you use it wrong, very risky. People have died from DNP. They've died from almost nothing else on this list. And so DNP is not something I would recommend to almost anyone. Also, it makes you insanely tired, and it really screws up your training and everything like that. I have taken it before. I was like, I don't really know why I'm taking this. I get far better results without it. So that's going to be missing. But we do have, I think, 3 supplements, and three supplements and then 3 drugs. Let's get to it. So supplement number 1 is Berberine. Berberine basically does some AMPK activation for you, and it also alters glucose levels to some extent, making your body rely a little bit more on stored fat for fuel. And I do mean a little bit more. We'll get to that in a second. Berberine is administered orally. Scott, you like that? Administered orally, volume 5, amazing video and a great series, I might add. 500 milligrams of berberine should be eaten for a very robust effect with every main meal. So you're getting up to about 3 total doses per day. For about 12 weeks, even longer, to see a notable effect. If I have to take a supplement with every meal, it had better work real goddamn well, because that is slightly inconvenient, if I may say so myself. Now, what I did with all of these fat loss supplements, all of these shredding compounds, is I put them up on a rank of how effective they are compared to the gold standard. And the gold standard, which we will talk about later, as our final and most impressive substance that we can take for fat loss, is called Tirzepatide. It is a pharmaceutical drug. It is quite new. And it is so effective that it ranks at 100% of effect for us. Berberine will get you roughly the fat loss of 13% of the effect of 5 milligrams of Tirzepatide taken for 12 weeks, same 12 weeks. So if you take berberine at about 1.5 grams per day, spread over 3 doses for 12 weeks. If you take Tirzepatide at 5 milligrams per week, notice the per week part, and you take that for 12 weeks, the berberine is going to get you 13% of the fat loss on average as an expected value, which is like, gee whiz. That's okay. So Tirzepatide, I gotta administer through subcutaneous injection. We'll get to that later. Once a week. Seems pretty easy. And then it works super well. And then berberine, gee whiz, 3 times a day I got to eat this stuff, and it really only gets me 13%. This is one of the reasons why fat-burning supplements have never amounted to much. It is effective. Berberine is effective. but the effect is so tiny. And by the way, Tirzepatide at 5 milligrams isn't even a high dose. That's considered lower dose. They have studies where they administer 5 milligrams of Tirzepatide, 10 milligrams of Tirzepatide, and even 15 milligrams of Tirzepatide very safely for most people. So 5 is considered a low to moderate dose. And even there's just no comparison. So there are some practical caveats to berberine. You can get a little bit of GI disturbance when you first start it. Usually people get used to it. And if you take medications that are classified as CYP3A4, and these are generally, what's that called? Psychogenic medications. They're for a variety. Good God. I fucked that up. Scott, can we edit that out?
Nope.
That was going to be a tangent to nowhere. If you are on one of these medications, then don't just take berberine. Make sure to ask ChatGPT about whether or not that's a good idea. And then if it's not sure, then go talk to your doctor. Really, really big deal. If you have an inkling to take the berberine for a long time, especially at high doses, you could run into lower vitamin B status potentially as a side effect. That's very unlikely, but possible. And also there's a warning to avoid doing this supplement intake during pregnancy. I'm not entirely sure why you try to burn fat during pregnancy. It's probably not a good idea. So berberine, as far as my own sort of personal vibe situation, is like, given it technically works, it doesn't work very well. And it's a little bit inconvenient to take. So that is what that is. Number 2 is actually a mini stack of 2 supplements, green tea extract and caffeine. And they work synergistically because caffeine is a catecholamine. It basically stimulates a little bit low-key fight or flight response, increases your sympathetic nervous system tone, which is the fight or flight nervous system, gets you burning a bit more calories, burning a bit more fat, which is great. And then the primary way that green tea catechins help out in this situation is that they slow the breakdown of caffeine and its byproducts, which means that you get more out of caffeine and a little bit something out of the green tea extract itself. So very, very interesting situation. It does blunt appetite a little bit, nothing like Tirzepatide, but it does work. And typically what you would do is take it fasted in the morning. You would administer something like 300 milligrams of green tea extract and 200 milligrams of caffeine. You can take that pre-workout, but then it's probably a good idea to work out earlier in the day so that you don't interfere with your sleep. Taking this in roughly 8 to 12 week blocks is a very good idea. You do get used to it after a while, and you probably aren't dieting super hard for longer than 8 to 12 weeks in most cases anyway. If you are, save the green tea plus caffeine for later in that situation. Now, the effect size here, the amount of shredding you're going to be able to do, the amount of fat loss you can do compared to Tirzepatide for a similar duration, Tirzepatide 5 milligrams and 500 milligrams total of this combined caffeine and green tea extract supplement, is going to be 9%. 9%. There have been more than a few evidence-based researchers who have looked at the supplement space and have emphatically concluded that it is unfair to label caffeine as a fat burner, probably because of this kind of effect size. I mean, you guys, like 9% of the most effective drug is curious, very much in the range of you may never see these results on your body. It does work theoretically, and people have had success with it. I just want you guys to understand what it is you're signing up for. Here's what I mean. If you actually get prescribed Tirzepatide and you take it and you follow a good diet, you're going to see results big time. If you get prescribed if you get green tea catechins and caffeine combo, and you're like, dude, I'm about to take this, it's going to be shred city. Just understand, you may never notice anything. Though under the hood it is working, it is by no means clear if it's something that you're going to be seeing. Now, this blend does improve workout energy. So if you take it before workout, that can help on that regard, sparing a bit of muscle tissue. So that's a good thing. But as far as raw potential to drive fat burning, it's just not a thing that is super, super powerful. If you go over 700 milligrams of the combined supplement per day for extended periods, you can experience some liver stress, so be careful. Definitely don't take it later in the day. Anything after 2 p.m. for sure is a bad idea because your ability to fall asleep is going to go straight to hell. These are substances that actively keep you awake. And if you're doing other supplements that are not so great for your liver, then doing a lot of this, even moderate doses, could be an interesting trade-off. So make sure you get your blood work done if you're into that sort of thing. All right, supplement number 3, our last supplement until we get to the drugs. And you'll see the effect sizes are a little bit different for the drugs. So supplement number 3 is capsaicin. I think that's how you say it. It is the thing that exists in spicy foods and makes you all hot and bothered. And it activates the TRPV1 receptor. And what that does is it cranks up your sympathetic tone. It puts you into a little bit more fight or flight. It increases the thermic effect of food, which means the food is actually now taking more calories for you to digest. And it does suppress your appetite slightly. All of those things lead to a predictable, theoretical amount of fat loss, which is cool. Now, the unfortunate part is similar to berberine. You're supposed to take about 2 milligrams of active capsaicinoids, so basically the supplement itself, per meal. Just before each main meal, you got to take it for 4 to 12 weeks, however long you want to take it for. Again, this is a downside. This is a known downside. If you are new to the fitness game, a huge unlock is anything that can make you more efficient and fluid with your daily tasks. You can get them done, get your training done, get your supplements done, get all that situated. And that is going to empower you like crazy to be good at the rest of your life and get awesome results. If what you have to do during a fat loss phase, which is hard already because you're eating less and so on and so forth, if what you have to do is like take 50 of these things before a meal, another dozen of these things before a meal, then after a meal, you have to take another supplement, you have to eat evening supplement, blah, blah, blah. It's going to get complicated and your probability of success is either going to fall or the difficulty of the task is going to rise even if you succeed. All stressors are not good stressors when they're extra on top of a fat loss diet. So this whole idea of taking stuff with every meal, man, that's really rough. Scott, what do you think about that? If I told you, hey, I got a supplement, you got to take it with every meal.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. I would say if you are using supplements, ideally using them AM and PM is pretty good. So you can have some supplements you take in the AM. Maybe you take some twice a day, some in the PM. So basically when you wake up in the morning before you go to bed, that is realistic for many humans because both waking up and going to bed are ritualized times. You're always going to be close to your bed when you're going to bed. You're always going to be right out of bed, same time of the day. Meals and stuff, that gets a little wacky. If you're trying to become a pro bodybuilder, maybe it's good to time stuff with your meals. Otherwise, maybe not worth it. Now, here's the real kicker. I'll say this in reverse order. The caveats and practices to avoid with capsaicin is that if you aren't used to spicy foods, you get that initial lava gut feeling of heartburn and all that stuff. I personally would never take it because I'm a wuss. If you are used to eating spicy things, then no big deal. You won't feel anything. However, here's the kicker. And this is kind of before we get to really, really good news. Here's the not so great news. Compared to the Tirzepatide standard, supplementing with capsaicin, you can expect roughly 3% of the fat loss that you would with Tirzepatide at a low dose. 3%, you guys, is barely detectable in the scientific literature. What we know about capsaicin is that, yes, from the studies, it technically helps with fat loss, but it is an unbelievably tiny amount. It's like if someone gave you a new steroid and they're like, it's going to get you stronger. And you're like, yeah, okay, so I currently squat 500. After a year of taking this steroid and squatting properly and training properly and eating well, what can I expect to squat? And they're like, well, we have a few research studies and it's really going to be about 505 pounds. And you're like, wait, extra? You mean like I squat 1,005 now? Like, no, 505 total. You get 5 extra in a year, 5 pounds. And you're like, are you sure you did the study right? They're like, yes, actually it's multiple studies and they all show that you do actually get a reliable 5 pounds of squat strength, more than you would have otherwise gotten if you trained a year with this magic new crazy steroid. And you're like, okay, can you guys remove the magic and crazy part and even the steroid part, please? Is it even technically a steroid? They're like, no, not really. Yeah, things can be effective. But remember, for every single supplement, for every single training modality, for almost every single thing in life, there are two questions to ask about a thing that you want to use for yourself. One is it effective at all? Like, does it do anything? But two is, how much of it does it do? How much is the effect? Because the effect is teeny, 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 tiny, and the supplement costs money and you have to eat it before every meal. Fuck me, man. Really? Maybe. The answer is maybe, which is why the supplement's on the list. I would say for me personally, no. If you think it's worth it, awesome. Just remember, do not get you some capsaicin beads and beadlets or whatever they're called. Eat them shits and be like, dude, Shred City. You're not going to Shred City. You're going to mild, teeny tiny enhancement otherwise over your results, if anywhere at all. Sorry, that's the deal with supplements. Now, when you're taking supplements and you expect these radical gains to occur, you're going to be disappointed every time. But you can get good gains with supplements, especially if you use multiple supplements and kind of stack the benefits to some extent. These benefits will come mostly from your diet and your training. One of the biggest myths, recurrent myths in the supplement space, is that if you diet and train kind of like whatever, kind of like normal, and you haven't been getting lean, you're just kind of maintaining, if you add in supplements that help you lose fat, all of a sudden you're going to start to see results. And that's just not how it works. In order to see your best results, you have to have most of the work come from modifying the diet and the training and the physical activity. And then the supplements are just enhancing that process. That's it. So really quick, before we get to the hardcore gnarly drugs that have real big effects and sometimes big downsides, let's take a look at what we must be doing for your best results if you're going to take any of these things. And even if you're not. Number one, you want a high protein diet when you're losing fat. Keeps muscle on your body. It's a really big deal. Gram per pound or so is a real good place to start. You want to consume 4 to 6 meals per day, each one with an roughly even amount of protein. So for example, if you eat 200 grams of protein per day and you have 4 meals per day, each meal should have roughly 50 grams of protein in it and spread roughly evenly apart through the day. Wake up, eat a little bit after waking, eat a few hours later, eat a little bit before bedtime, go to sleep, recycle. That's how you feed your body a continuous amount of protein so that it continuously doesn't lose muscle when there's not a lot of energy around. Your body's like, hey, who wants to give me energy? Muscle's like, no. And then it gets taken away from its family. No, mommy. The mommy muscle's like, oh my God. The dad's holding mom back because the body's guards will shoot the muscle mommy I said muscle mommy, Scott. Muscle mommy. Wow. Mostly healthy foods for 2 reasons. 1, they tend to be very filling and help control your hunger. And 2, they tend to be very nutritious. And when you're at a lower calorie intake, you have to make sure that the quality of your nutrition for the remaining calories is very high. You're getting lots of micronutrients like vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, fiber, water, so that you can fuel your body adequately for all of its needed processes, even though the amount of calories you're putting in is now lower. Because if you eat mostly junk food and you start having less junk food, you can actually get into vitamin and mineral deficiencies, short-term ones that are like annoying. And remember, you're an athlete. You want your body to function as well as possible. You have to feed it mostly healthy stuff. You want to generate a caloric deficit. If you're trying to lose fat and you're like, how much berberine do I have to take to not lower my calories, but still lose a bunch of fat? The answer is an unsafe amount. There's no way to get there with berberine. So what you have to do is take your normal baseline intake, your maintenance diet, and cut anywhere between 400 and 800 calories out of it. If you're a large king, if you're weighing over 250 pounds, 800 calorie cut is really good. If you're a smaller king, you're weighing around 150, 400 calories is good, and everything in between is totally fine. Your average day should be 400 to 800 calories, fewer input calories, fewer food calories than you expend. And then that is going to really power me. That does most of the powering of fat loss. It's the fact that your body isn't getting fed from the outside that makes your body go, hey, what the hell I got going on? Well, there's plenty of protein and then the muscle's good. Let me get some fat. And then it starts eating your body fat. And that's exactly how you get lean. Daily steps are a big deal. When you start dieting for fat loss, especially after a few weeks, your body goes, hey man, I don't want to lose all this weight. I'm kind of getting freaked out. Is this starvation? I was designed by evolution to prevent this. So it takes your daily energy expenditure and it starts lowering and it makes you a little lazier, a little slower. And if you're not tracking your steps, you could be starting at 10,000 steps a day, which is very healthy and provides a robust amount of calorie burning for fat loss. And it starts to go to 8,000, 6,000, 4,000. By the end of the diet, you're sitting on the couch mostly, and you're like, I wonder why I'm not losing a lot of weight anymore and a lot of fat. And it's because your body is tailor-made to make you stop doing that because it's freaked out and thinks you're dying of starvation. So having a step tracker, like I do now, is a really good idea. Peg your steps somewhere between 10 and 12,000 per day on average for most people for that 8 to 12 week fat loss duration. And then you're good to go. You're making sure your expenditure is really good. You're training really hard. Your diet, you know what you're taking in, you're getting that deficit. And then it's not a guessing game anymore. You're almost certainly going to lose all the weight that you want. On that note of muscle sparing and muscle growth, you must continue to train hard with weights. When you are training hard with weights in a surplus, when you're eating enough food to grow, the weights are making your muscles grow and you're adding muscle. When you're training weights in a deficit, you are not growing much muscle, but you're fighting muscle loss. So what happens is if you grow muscle, that's good. You can add muscle. But if you are in a fat loss phase, the amount of catabolic or muscle loss stimulus coming in, low calories, low energy, low carbohydrates, all that stuff, the hormonal profile changes, your testosterone levels fall. All of a sudden, you're not growing any muscle, probably, but you're losing muscle. There's a muscle loss thing. So if you didn't train with weights, you would actually lose lots of muscle on dieting. How do we know that? Well, folks that finally cut their calories a ton through drugs like Semaglutide, which we'll cover in a little bit, when they don't resistance train, they lose tons of muscle. Like a third of their weight loss is muscle. And why wouldn't it be? Your body doesn't care about its muscle anymore than it cares about any other organ. So it's like, hey, I'm starving. We're going to take muscle. We're going to take fat. No big deal. If you weight train consistently 2 to 6 times per week, depending on your circumstance, if you can do that, then usually you can pretty much cancel out every single bit of muscle loss. You're not gaining on net, but you're neutral on net. And if you have all of your muscle on your body at the end of a fat loss diet that you did at the beginning, and you have 10 pounds or 15 pounds of fat off of your body, that is a next level look. That's the look you're looking for. And here's the best part. When you start gaining weight again after that, purposefully, eating lots of good food, lots of protein, training really hard, you just gain muscle after that. And a lot of these phases stack together, 8 to 12 week deficit duration, then 8 to 12 weeks of maintenance or muscle gain, then more deficit, then maintenance or muscle gain. You do these waves. On the down waves, you don't lose muscle, but you lose fat. On the up waves, you gain some muscle and you gain some fat. If you can iterate that in your head for a second, you realize that, oh, okay, so actually the long-term result is I keep my muscle mass stable and or increasing slowly, and my fat mass over multiple diets drops down and down and down and down. That cyclic approach is what can allow you to lose unbelievable amounts of weight over the long term. And that's really the way to do it. This recommendation that I just gave you, this list of recommendations, is the workhorse of your fat loss diet. If you do these things and take no supplements, you're going to be very successful. If you do these things and take supplements, you're going to be even a little bit more successful. If you don't do these things, you can take all the supplements you want. Your success is absolutely not guaranteed and probably just won't happen at all. All right, on to the drugs. Clenbuterol, have to include because lots of people use it. It is a beta-2 adrenergic agonist, which means it kind of ramps you up. It raises how many calories your cells, probably most of your cells, burn. It cranks sympathetic tone, which means it makes you really fight or flight. It's kind of like super caffeine in a certain sense. And it significantly bumps your resting metabolic rate up to 20% in some cases, which is a big deal. And what it does is typically you burn some combination of proteins, carbs, and fats for your anytime calorie needs. It shifts this a large degree, up to 40%, towards fat oxidation. That's really cool. It's really cool, and it's very effective. There is a lot of controversy about how to take clenbuterol. Some people say you need to take 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off because the receptors get really used to it. Some people say you can take it up to 8 weeks at a time and the receptors don't downregulate. I'm not sure about this. This is more of a field question, and I've never taken clenbuterol because I don't do well with stimulants. But I've seen people take it. Plenty. Most people have totally fine results with it if they can handle the super caffeine feeling. It also makes your hands jittery and all that other crazy shit. But typically you would start at something like 40 micrograms per day in the morning so that you can sleep somewhat at night. It does screw up your sleep no matter when you take it. It's got a long half-life. And you can titrate slowly if needed up to 100 micrograms per day, or 120 even. And those are the typical recommendations. What I would say is clenbuterol is a very powerful drug. Only take it as per the recommendations of your bodybuilding coach, and probably under no other circumstances. Now, effect size here is impressive. Compared to 5 milligrams of tirzepatide for an equal duration, a robust dose of clenbuterol can lead to something like 40% of the weight loss that tirzepatide can, and of the fat loss. Boy, oh boy, does that beat 13, 9, and 3% from earlier. And guys, this right here, this is why people take drugs in the fitness world. You say, why do people take clenbuterol? Because it works, man. And you ask, like, hey, why do bodybuilders rotate supplement companies all the time as sponsors, and they're taking Capsaicin one week and the next week they have a new sponsor and they're yelling about Berberine and that's how it made them jacked? But it seems to be like they're switching all the time. Guys, because supplements don't do all that much, man. Not for fat loss, they don't. But Clen works kind of every time that you can handle the side effects. And on that note, let's talk about the caveats and the kind of provisos here. So clenbuterol is not FDA approved for humans, so you're going to be getting it illegally. If you're into that sort of thing, God bless you. I think it's probably a bad idea. So give that some thought. It is not a World Anti-Doping Agency approved substance, so you will 100% get popped for it. It is cheating in sport. If your sport federation bans it, don't do it. It 100% puts your cardiovascular system, your heart specifically, into overdrive, causing what's called tachycardia, which is a rapid heartbeat. If you're ever on Clen, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For some people, this can lead to temporary arrhythmias where your heart gets off beat and gets all wacky and you're like, is this it? Am I going to die? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. It can cause hand tremors, like I mentioned before. And if you use it for extended periods, you can promote a maladaptive cardiac hypertrophy. Your heart grows, the walls thicken, and it can pump less blood. And it can promote hypokalemia, which is too little potassium. And that's actually kind of dangerous. Probably you won't be super in danger, but it's not super healthy for you, straight up. And you have to cycle it all the time. At least after about 8 weeks, it loses a lot of potency. You've got to stop for a while. Not a big deal because you shouldn't be taking it for long anyway, but just something to note, kind of a downside. And there's medications like QT interval prolonging medications if you're taking for various other situations you have that the clenbuterol really interferes with. It's one of these drugs. It's not like it's quite old. It's not a modern fine-tuned drug that has very few side effects and a very awesome main effect. It's got a very awesome main effect, but it has side effects up the wazoo. So my general recommendation for you is probably just don't use Clen. If you've used it before with success, with good management, it's totally fine. But if you're like, hey, should I use clenbuterol? The answer is probably not. And the answer is probably not because now we have drugs that are just way better. What are they? Our second to last drug is Semaglutide, otherwise known as Ozempic as a trade name. It is a GLP-1 receptor agonist, which means it clips into the GLP-1 receptor and makes it think that it's the real thing. And what it does is it has a bunch of different effects, but the main ones we're interested in for fat loss is that it slows gastric emptying, which means you hold food in your stomach for longer, which massively, in combination with other factors, reduces your appetite a ton. Semaglutide also improves your insulin response. It is otherwise incredibly healthy for you. Most of its side effects are really awesome health boosting and longevity boosting effects. It will crush your appetite like you cannot believe. And here's the best part. You administer it through subcutaneous injection with a teeny tiny needle that you barely feel, insulin needles that millions of Americans use, once a week, and it gains in potency at the same dose for 5 weeks. After that, it flatlines, and if that's enough drug for you to manage your hunger, to take your deficit, remember the one that we calculated earlier, 400 or 800, somewhere between their calories less than normal, and if at that deficit you no longer experience radical hunger that throws you off, you are on the right amount of semaglutide. Do not take any more than that because you will experience more side effects. For what purpose? Feel so much hunger that you're inconvenienced about eating? I don't think that's a net benefit. So what you need here out of Ozempic, out of semaglutide, is to get just enough of a dose that allows you to eat your normal weight loss diet, your fat loss shredding diet, and feel normally hungry like you would during any other time. What a miracle. That's what you can use it for, and that's how it's best used. You can take this drug for forever. It's probably a good idea to take it for forever because it's so good for your health. The only reason you wouldn't take it for forever is if the side effects are really fucked up, which we'll get to in a sec, or if there's a better drug around. And there is, and I'll get to that one in just a little bit. The effect size of semaglutide compared to tirzepatide, the gold standard, is 84%. Guys, it's 2 times more effective on the scale than even clenbuterol. This is a big deal. This is a real drug. Now, ramp up is when you experience most of the side effects because oftentimes people start too high in dose and they ramp too fast. A lot of folks in the medical community will prescribe 0.5 milligrams per week. That's too much for most people to start with. I say it's 0.25 milligrams. That's right, 1/4 of a milligram. The top dose is about 2.5 milligrams. So we're starting at 1/10 of the top dose. And our goal is not to go to the top dose. It is only to go to a dose that allows us decent hunger management, good, proper hunger management that leaves us just hungry enough to eat all of our food for the day when we're in a fat loss phase and feel totally normal about it. That's the most you need to take. If you take more than that, and if you're a person that tends to have a sensitive stomach, you could be looking at some nausea. It's very rare to get pancreatitis or gallstones, but it does happen mostly when people just continue to eat high-fat junk food diets and don't eat healthy. And of course, if you stop semaglutide, your weight will creep back up, but very slowly. And here's the best part about semaglutide. It doesn't lose its effect, seemingly ever. You take caffeine every day for a while, you're going to need a lot more caffeine to do the same thing. You take semaglutide every week, and they still haven't found a point at which it stops working or works less well. Like people have been on it for like a decade at this point, and nothing. Now, semaglutide is an incredibly powerful substance. And so I have some tips for you as to how to make sure not to screw yourself over, get the most out of the drug, and pay the least. Why is this a big deal? You will go on the internet and you will look up side effects, negatives of semaglutide, of Ozempic. You will hear fucking horror stories. And there's entire YouTube videos of quote unquote experts talking about how bad these drugs are. I'm going to tell you something, real talk from the trenches, from the scientific perspective and the personal perspective, because I have taken semaglutide a bunch. It's amazing. Almost every single downside can be managed by not doing dumb shit. Let me tell you how that works. Number 1, if you continue to take in high-calorie boluses of food. Scott, how many Taco Bell burritos do you think you can eat in one sitting if you have like 5 minutes?
Me personally?
Like aliens will fix you afterwards.
I could do like 1 a minute.
1 a minute. So can a lot of people that are overweight. Scott's not a big guy. So if you go back to Taco Bell and you shred down 2,000 or 3,000 calories of Taco Bell food, which is really all the same food shaped in different ways, you on Ozempic, on semaglutide, are going to put something in your gut that takes like 18 hours to get through your gut. And right around halfway through that, your body makes a calculation that the food in there is rotting now. It's not moving fast enough through the stomach. So it's going to go, you know what's going to fix this is infinity heartburn, vomiting, diarrhea, and after that, more vomiting. Why not? You're going to have a bad time. The way semaglutide works the best is if you take every single recommendation I gave earlier about how to structure your diet. Very healthy foods, no crazy late night eating, very normal amounts of calories spread evenly. You're going to have an amazing time 9 times, 95 times out of 100 with semaglutide. If you eat high calorie foods in huge quantities, you're going to have a bad time. It's almost a guarantee. And if these are very high fat foods, it's even worse. So you want moderate to low fats, spread in multiple meals through the day, very healthy foods. I said this already, I'm going to say it again. Evening eating on semaglutide can cause heartburn when you're sleeping, which tends to fuck up your sleep if I last correctly checked. So evening, you want lighter meals, maybe something like Greek yogurt, just a bit of protein, and then you're good to go. Remember, you're not hungry on semaglutides. You don't even have to eat a lot before you go to bed to fall asleep. You're good to go. Another one is ease into the doses. Start with 0.25 milligrams. And remember, for 5 weeks straight, It's just going to feel more and more strong because it sums up in your blood that entire time because of its super long half-life. Until and unless after about 3 weeks, if you feel literally nothing, then you can go to 0.5. But if at 3 weeks you're like, I'm starting to feel some pretty decent stuff, my diet's really easy, do not go up to 0.5. One of the number one biggest mistakes that are made in the administration of semaglutide and related compounds by doctors, unfortunately, is they do a predetermined ramp-up period. So a lot of times they'll start you at, this is crazy, but it really is how it works. They do a month at 0.5, which for like maybe 30% of people is already too much, and that's how half the side effects are reported on the internet. Scott, this is going to blow your mind. They do a month at 1 milligram, which for most people is way more than enough. They do a month at 1.5, which is like, are you guys fucking serious? You're trying to burn people out. And then they do a month at 2. And sometimes if 2 doesn't cut it, they put you to 2.4, which is the entire size of the Ozempic pen.
It's crazy. They just jack you up regardless.
Yeah. So my wife has a history of being overweight, struggled with appetite, like psychotic appetite. She's 4'11". She used to weigh 200 pounds. Like, straight up, that's a big old bitch. You feel me? No, I'm saying I didn't know her back then, but she would still get it back then. That's my girl. Anyway, she ended up needing 1 milligram per week of pharmaceutical Ozempic, pharmaceutical semaglutide, the best quality shit, to completely control her body weight all the way down to like 135 pounds. I don't know who 2.4 is for. Certainly people have different genetic sensitivities, but the idea that you would ramp everyone to 2+ milligrams is fucking insane. Do not do it. Do not do it. You're going to have a bad time 9 times out of 10. 2 milligrams is for people that have ramped very slowly to 1.5 and they don't really feel much. That's who 2 mgs is for. For everyone else, somewhere between 0.25 and 1.25 milligrams over very, very many weeks of titrating up, if you feel like you need more, is the situation. Because as you increase the dose, the side effects creep up every single time. So the big thing is here, ease into the doses and don't dose higher than you need. If you're like at 1 milligram and you're just coasting, you're like, oh my God, I don't even feel hungry. I'm rocking my diet. I'm losing 2 pounds a week. And anyone, and I'm going to say something controversial here, including your doctor, says you need to go up to 1.5, don't. Talk to your doctor like a normal human and ask him, hey, like I heard on the internet, this one other fake doctor guy, Dr. Mike, he said that maybe if I'm feeling really good at 1 milligram, that going to 1.5 is pointless and nonsense. Maybe don't say it that way. Talk to ChatGPT, talk to another doctor. Don't just ramp into infinity. That's a really, really bad idea. Now, when especially you're starting in the first few weeks, if you drink a workout shake like I do, drink it more slowly. If you drink your workout shake at the normal speed, you may find that halfway through your workout, you're like staring over a trash can. You're like, I've never vomited after shoulders before. First time for everything. So really ease in. And whatever meal you eat before your workout, let's say typically you eat 3 hours before your workout and then you go train, try to make that meal fewer calories, like mostly protein, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fats, or move that meal back a few hours so that you don't have a bad time. Because if you're training on a full stomach with semaglutide, probability of vomiting escalates. That's Ozempic. That's semaglutide. Now, our final drug, drug number 3, is our gold standard. It is Tirzepatide. It is the semaglutide drug, the GLP-1 agonist, plus a GIP agonist. Now, they used to think that GIP caused obesity, but it turns out it was backwards. We all get our guesses wrong every now and again. Tirzepatide is a dual agonist, which means it hits 2 pathways. And that means it's able to do everything semaglutide is able to do, but with 2 differences. One, it works even better to suppress your appetite with fewer side effects, which is like really tripped out. So Tirzepatide, at any given dose that it causes a certain amount of weight loss, will see fewer side effects, fewer heartburn incidences, less nausea, all that stuff compared to semaglutide. And I've taken both, and I'm currently on Tirzepatide. It is a big difference, very big difference. Some people start Tirzepatide, and they're like, I don't think it's working. Like, are you hungry? Like, no. Oh, well, how do you think it's not working? Like, I don't have like heartburn after every meal like I used to with Ozempic. Like, yeah. So Tirzepatide has that big power. But I'll tell you guys this. When you're on semaglutide and you are at the end of a real gnarly fat loss phase, your hunger is pretty much gone. You just turn dial, more medicine, less hunger. But your cravings, that kind of, Scott, you know the difference between hunger and cravings. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, you're not hungry, but that corn dog just looks like you fucking need a corn dog. And someone's like, do you want chicken breast? And you're like, no. Because by the way, guys, there's a really easy test to see if you're hungry or if you're craving.
About to bring up. Yes,
there it is.
The true test.
Jared Feather, IFBB Pro, was coaching Brianna Terry, also IFBB Pro and one of the strongest women in history, through one of her diets. And she was like, I'm hungry. And he goes, cool. You can have all of the casein pudding you want. And I believe her text response was, fuck you. But what Brie really meant to say was, I just want cheeseburgers and stuff. I'm not actually hungry. Remember, if you go to Africa where they're starving children and you give them a tub of casein pudding, they're going to go through the tub really goddamn quick, probably have a lot of diarrhea. But food is food at high quality protein. I mean, if you're actually hungry, you need physical nutrients in your body. Chicken breast works, broccoli works, casein pudding works. And Ozempic is going to take that shit and almost eliminate it. Semaglutide pretty much eliminates it. But you still feel like a little pizza, a little cheeseburger. And that feeling can get real intense towards the end of a diet. And then you succumb to that feeling and semaglutide's like, hey man, I couldn't help with that, but now you're going to have diarrhea. Bad news. Tirzepatide through that GIP receptor seems to hit also the cravings in a very different way. When you're on Tirzepatide, you're not even really interested in food as anything other than like, oh yeah, like I need to eat food and it's still tasty. But that drive, that desire to be like, oh, I need Cheetos is pretty much gone. And so Tirzepatide is humongously effective and its side effects are massive health upsides. It is better for your heart tissue. It brings your cholesterol down. It brings your blood pressure down. It reduces total body inflammation and the pace of aging. It reduces brain inflammation and pushes back the onset of all sorts of degenerative diseases in the brain, like Alzheimer's and dementia. No joke. And by the way, this has nothing to do with its weight loss benefits. Those add to all of those things. These are weight neutral benefits. Tirzepatide is nothing short of a fucking miracle drug. It is an elixir of health. And if you can tolerate the GI effects and you can keep your body weight up and train with weights that eat enough protein, maybe everyone should kind of be on low to moderate dose Tirzepatide kind of all the time. And the effects here are staggering. After a year and a half of using Tirzepatide and basically doing nothing else, the average person who weighed about 200-ish, 220 pounds when they started lost about 35 pounds of body weight. Guys, we have no comparator for this. Diet and exercise, people just don't do long enough to see benefits like that. But here's the real unlock. All of the same precautions you take with Tirzepatide. Don't eat late at night, make your food nice and healthy, control your calories, get plenty of activity, resistance train consistently. So you combine all of these amazing fitness industry habits we've all been yapping about for generations to your face. Eat well, sleep well, train hard, be consistent, get steps, plus Tirzepatide. And again, starting at Tirzepatide is dosed differently. So you start at 2.5 milligrams, and then maybe you go up to 5, and maybe you just stop there. It doses up to 15 milligrams. Do not take 15 milligrams of Tirzepatide on your first time. You're going to have a really bad time. If you combine all these healthy habits and Tirzepatide, and shameless plug, controlling all of that with the RP Diet Coach app, link in description, then what you can do is not have just the drug effects or just the diet enhancing and activity enhancing effects. You can have a synergy. You can have both. And then at the end of a year and a half or 2 years of taking Tirzepatide and controlling your diet, maybe with the RP Diet Coach app, and resistance training 2 to 6 times per week and getting 10,000 or so steps a day, you can lose 20, 30, 40 pounds of fat and zero muscle. That will transform how you look. It'll transform your health. It'll transform how you feel. And you might even have the confidence to ask Stacy out. Scott, will you be Stacy for a second as we close out this video?
Yes.
Hey, Stacy, you notice my new shreds?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You look so hot right now.
Yeah, you like that?
I just want to like do you.
Oh my. Oh yeah, but like, I gotta work out.
Oh, no.
I chickened out, you guys. Stacy said yes, but I couldn't go through with it. When your Stacy says yes, go through with it. And wear a condom. See you guys next time.
Condoms are for losers, folks. Remember that.